Well, good evening to you once again. It's your man, Mr. Darnay. www.mtown.com. www.mtowntonight.com. My apologies. It's been a long day, and I have been dying to get here to you all tonight to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to have some fun tonight, as usual, learning something. I'm going to have fun sharing some information that has been beneficial to me. So we're going to sit back and relax a little bit and chill while we take the day off a little bit, as I always do, to those that survived throughout the day and made it to this evening, to you as well. The background music that you hear, as always, being played in the background is by Black Syndicate Entertainment, a local production company here in Memphis. If you're looking for songwriting or concept development, hooks, tracks, R&B, hip-hop, get with the guys at Black Syndicate Entertainment. They'll keep you bumping. They're always bumping, and they keep me bumping. So just relax a little bit while we sit back and chill and try to get the day off for a few minutes and just relax and listen to the track. Oh, yeah. We got some information regarding a guest that we were supposed to be having on the show tonight, but due to the overwhelming success that I feel that I had with the interview, with the content, it was a three and a half hour long interview that I had with the Honorable Judge Joe Brown, and we had been talking about all week long about having him as a guest on the show, and a couple of times this week our schedules just couldn't coordinate, so we had to reschedule, and we were able to get together today. And I must say that it was a very, very informational interview for me, a learning experience for me from a lot of aspects, a lot of angles. And it's going to take a minute for us to edit that video to the degree of being able to cut it where we can put it into an hour segment. And it's going to be so hard for us to do that because there was so much being said in the video. And we talked about a lot of things, everything from the election to from what happened in the election when he ran against Amy Weinrich, as well as his presiding over the appealed case of the James Earl Ray case regarding the assassination of Martin Luther King here in Memphis, to education, of course, Hollywood. We just covered the whole gamut of topics, and I didn't think that the interview would actually go that long, but it did, and that was a great thing because we got some very good information. And we're going to edit that video down to within an hour as best we can. If we feel that we can't get all of the bases covered like we'd like to, then we're just going to probably have to go ahead and just give you the entire video in its entirety, and allow you to sit back and get into the head of Brother Brown, as I call him. I think that the way that the election went gave a lot of bad, negative vibes to people about Judge Brown. And I can say from personal experience of having the opportunity to serve him at one particular time in my tenure of restaurants, different restaurants in the city, as well as today over a period of years, I say to you that he's a pretty good guy. He's a pretty good guy. So we'll get that video broken down as best we can, with providing as much information as we can. And if we just can't seem to do it, and it's going to be a disservice of any kind to not put as much as we can in there, then we're going to just have to find a way to upload the entire video and let you sit back and enjoy that in its entirety. So sit back for that. We should have that for you. We'll air again next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. And hopefully we'll be able to have that in its not just in its entirety, but a vast amount of that video. We may even have to do it 2 nights. We may have to do it one part Tuesday night, and I do a special broadcast on Wednesday night to broadcast the other part of the video. So either way it goes, we're going to get as much to you as we can, if not the entire thing. So just sit back and watch that. It's going to be very informational and entertaining also. Which brings me to tonight's topic, the law or legalities. And let me say first to you that I am not an attorney, nor am I licensed to practice law in the state of Tennessee or the United States. I am not here to give you any legal advice, nor am I giving it legal advice. But I do have the opportunity, I do have the right to share legal information with you. With that being said, a lot of the problems that we have, and I'm just basically speaking right now in our city, a lot of the problems that we have are dealing with the law and our interactions with the law. And a lot of us have misconceptions about the law and how the law works. And we as a people, particularly Black people, and I say that because if you go to our courts downtown 201 Poplar, or for that matter, probably anywhere in the United States, the courts are filled, the lobbies of courts are filled with Black people. Not to say that there aren't other ethnic groups that are there, but Black people, for the most part, are the bigger part of the population of people there. And we have to have a better understanding of the law and what we are supposed to do, what we're not supposed to do, what we have the right to do, and the right or what we shouldn't do. And these are things that we should know. Years ago, Malcolm X himself stated that it is the responsibility of every Black man to know the laws of the United States. It's your responsibility. I agree with that. It is your responsibility to know as much as you can about the legal system. That's your responsibility. One of the reasons is, if you would think about there's an old saying, and they say it in the courts as well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Just because you don't know the law does not mean that the law applies to you or does not apply to you. Some people don't know that our ignorance of the law is our biggest crime for the most part. Because if we knew what we were doing, or we knew what we couldn't do or shouldn't do, and acted upon that, a lot of our heartaches could probably go away. Especially our young people, our young men out here that are doing ridiculously stupid crimes, not thinking about tomorrow, or for that matter, later on that evening, if you get caught. We don't think it through. And if you think about the consequences of what your actions are, then you could pretty much put yourself in a position where you have no interaction with the legal system from that perspective whatsoever. But when you break the law, whether you knew that that was a law or not, you will pay for it. So it's best to know what you can do and what you cannot do. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, or we're going to start off talking about, uh, is the ability to sue. Everybody has that right and that privilege to file a lawsuit against someone. And you can file a lawsuit against anybody for basically anything. And I'm pretty sure if you looked hard enough, you will find an attorney, if you need one, to file that lawsuit for you. If it's a small claims lawsuit, which is what I'll be speaking about, that's something that you can file yourself. If you're an actual injured party, if you've suffered a loss of some kind, a tangible loss, you feel that you've suffered a tangible loss of product or not being paid for services or whatever the case may be, you have the right to file that on your own with little to no attorney involvement whatsoever, which in itself is a savings because most attorneys are charging a minimum of $100 an hour when you average it out on the regular scale. And these are things that you can do on your own if you have a legitimate issue with a party or a group of people, what have you, and you feel that you've been wronged, you have proof that you've been wronged, you file your own lawsuit. You go right downtown to the Shelby County Courthouse, and you deal with the clerk, and you file the necessary documents. I think it's called a statement of claim. You file that document, fill in those blanks where they need to be filled in with as much accurate information as you can have. You pay your filing fee, and the filing fee depends sometimes on how many defendants are a part of your suit, how much you're actually suing for, uh, other services that you may want, sheriff involvement, sheriff serving, process serving, whatever the case may be. But you'll pay those filing fees. They'll stamp you. The clerk will stamp you, and it'll be processed from there. Once it's sent out, the document is sent either through the sheriff's department or through a form of certified mail. If the party is out of town or has a PO box, they're served in one of those two fashions. And once they receive it, if they receive it, they have 14 days um, to respond to that. They respond. You get a court date. You go to an informal hearing. The evidence is presented by you and whatever rebuttal the defendant has against you. And the judge pretty much makes the decision. And all of that can be done without an attorney. You can do that on your own. It takes a little time to do it. It takes you taking the steps to go and get that done. But you can do that on your own. But everything is not worth suing for. And that has to deal with the law as well. Frivolous lawsuits. You want to sue someone for walking on your grass, or you want to sue someone for saying your name in the wrong way in front of 15 people that you know. I mean, these lawsuits, they call them frivolous lawsuits. And as I say, you pretty much can probably find an attorney that will file the documents for you if you wanted to, even if it's the small claims. If you don't feel comfortable with doing these things, of course you can hire an attorney to do it. But if you pretty much probably would find an attorney that would be willing to file that. Most attorneys probably would say to you, based on if it's something frivolous to that effect, that there's no reason to do so because attorneys are not into taking cases that they don't think they can win, number one. And if they see that, you still have the option to go on your own and pursue it. So having that knowledge allows you to not have to take losses that you think you have to take, whether they're from stores, if you've had car issues, if you've gotten your car fixed by a certain car shop, you feel that they're not doing you the right way, they're not giving you what you paid for, take them to court. We have to be this way. We have to do business this way instead of taking things out the other way, making it personal. You take them to court and you do it the proper way. And if you by chance happen to need an attorney to assist you or take care of the small claims, you can, and you've got it in the contract of who you're suing, you can actually recoup those attorney's fees through your suit if you get the judgment. You can get that. You can get that. That's something you need to know. We ride through the city, and give an example, our youngsters, they like to ride through the city 3, 4 deep in the car, smoking marijuana, drinking, loud music, having a good time, as they say. We've all done something to that effect. And when the police pulls you over, when they pull them over, the police could have easily just had not seen any form of infraction, whether it be busted tail light. They didn't have to see any of that. They saw 4 young men in a car. They pull you over, and the first thing you ask is, "Why did you stop me?" Well, Trust me, he'll have a reason. But the issue comes in when he asks you for your driver's license and you don't have it. Or if you have a driver's license, a valid driver's license, you don't have it, you don't know your number. These little simple things are important. It's important for you. All of us should know our driver's license number in the event that you don't have your license. If you don't have your license and you know your driver's license number, and that officer runs your number, and it comes back that your license is valid and you have the valid insurance for your vehicle, safe to say most officers will probably let you pass on if there is not an infraction. Now, understand this. They may not ever want to admit this, but I've been told this before by not necessarily fellow officers, but gentlemen that I know that I went to school with that are a part of law enforcement agencies across the United States, ranging from here to Mississippi to California to um, Georgia. The intent when they pull you over is to take you to jail. The intent when they pull you over is to detain you and take you to jail. If they cannot find something to detain you or take you to jail for, then they do what? They let you go. And that's what they usually say. Okay, young man or young lady, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Their purpose of pulling you over is to detain you and hold you for an infraction. If that infraction requires you going to jail, you're going to jail. Every now and then you run into those officers that, as we say, don't want to have to deal with the paperwork and everything looks pretty peachy on the front end. You've got a driver's license. Even if you don't have your driver's license, you know your number. You've got vehicle financial responsibility paper with regards to your insurance, your titles in the car, or you can tell them some detailed information about the car that when they run the vehicle, it checks out. There's no visible alcohol infraction. There's no visible marijuana. There's not a smell of marijuana or any other form of drug. Your demeanor is basically in a you're in good posture. You're speaking clearly. You're talking like an individual that knows what they're talking about. And there is no fear there. That's a part of knowing the law also, knowing how to deal with police officers when they pull you over, knowing what you are supposed to know to help your situation. That's dealing with the law as well. Because when they pull you over, you're on their turf at that point. You're in their care, if you will, at that point. They have to deal with you in a certain way as well, which is what all of this hoopla that we've been having going on has been talking about, how the police deals with its citizens, that it is so-called taking care of and protecting and serving. And I'm not saying that there are all bad officers, no question about it. There are not all bad officers. We've got a lot more good officers than bad, I'd be willing to say. And I definitely would hope so, confidently hope that there are more officers that are to the good, to protect and serve the right way, as opposed to those that really just the job it's an ego kick. And even when you run into those ego kicks, you have to conduct yourself a certain way and know information about yourself, know how far they can go, what they can do, what they can't do, knowing the procedure, knowing your rights. The Miranda rights are something that you should know by heart because those are your rights. It doesn't just come into play when you get pulled over. It's something that we all should know. We should know what our rights are. So when he quotes them or he doesn't quote them, you know that there is a violation there. Getting back to lawsuits once again, if you have a lawsuit that you are suing someone for, you're trying to get a judgment on that individual or company. And that individual or company will it'll be either garnishment or it may be a flat out payment depending on the company. They have the funds to do that. But when you're dealing with lawsuits, you have to understand, you have to keep your emotions out of it. And that's where a lot of lawsuits come from. Emotion, how you're feeling. Well, they didn't do me right. I just don't feel that they did me right over there. I just don't feel right how they did me. I'm going to sue them. That's not going to fly. If you're suing someone because how you feel they treated you, how you feel about how they treated you, that's not going to be enough. No attorney will take your feelings and try to go to court with them. You shouldn't definitely try to go to small claims court with your feelings. You need some tangible evidence as to an injury, where you got hurt, what happened, how did your loss occur, how are they responsible for your loss. That's what we have to do as citizens when we go to small claims court. You can't go in there on emotion. And a lot of lawsuits are given birth in their head through emotion. I'm going to sue them because they were being racial with me. If you can't prove that, and more importantly, you don't have anything to substantiate that in real evidence, I just don't see how it's going to work. I mean, once again, I'm not an attorney, but we're dealing with common sense here. We're dealing with common sense. So don't base your lawsuit on impulse emotions, how people treated you, or have some tangible stuff to take with you, because you're going to need it. That will be your opportunity to show and prove your case against your defendant. So you're going to have something tangible to deal with. The judge is not going to look at either one of you and base it on how they feel about you. At least they're not supposed to. It's supposed to be about the evidence, and who has the best evidence, and who can tell the better story about the evidence, and put the evidence in a way that the judge understands it or accepts it better than the other. That's who wins. That's who wins. Small claims court in Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, you can sue up to $25,000. That's a nice piece of change. That's a nice piece of change to have a judgment on a company that owed you for services that weren't rendered properly, or you suffered damages from services, or what have you, or an individual. So you can do these things yourself. You just have to take the time to research what needs to be done. A lot of times lawyers are not necessary, and this is no knock on lawyers at all, because lawyers, they'll be okay. But a lot of times lawyers are not necessary. If you're dealing with a murder case, well, of course, you need an attorney. If you're involved in a hit and run or an accident and where you caused a party injury, you may be sued. But if it's a situation to where it could be this side or that side, or it's speculative on what happened, then you're definitely going to need an attorney if it's certain things. Because you want that experience, you want that mindset, you want that logic that they bring to the table. That's what they're bringing to the table. The ability to put things in perspective, apply logic to them, put them in perspective, negate the things that aren't important, and build a case for you. That's their job. That's something else that we have to understand about the law. When you hire an attorney, he, she, they work for you. You hire them. No attorney can go out and just grab his client, grab her client. They can't do that. You have to retain them. You hire them for their services. So in saying that and knowing that, when you're dealing with your attorney or attorneys, have the confidence to be able to say what it is that you want, the desired results that you are looking for, and explaining that that's why you hired them, him or her, to get these certain results. You feel that this law firm can get these desired results, and your desired results are what? And you can put them on paper and present them to your attorney. You can write them down. You write them down and explain them when you go to his office for his consultation. This is what I'd like to have done. This is what I want to do. Can I get this done? Is this possible? Those are the questions that you pose to your attorney. His or her job is to tell you yay, nay, and why or why not. That's why you're hiring them. You don't work for them. And attorneys can be high maintenance too. They're so busy, they're in court. I understand. I deal with them all the time. And I'm not speaking negatively of them. I'm just stating the obvious. When you deal with them, you understand you're dealing with an individual that has an air about himself or herself. They should. They graduated from law school, they passed the bar. Hey, kudos to you. But I'm still a human being. You're still a human being. I was in a courtroom downtown, and a young lady, African American attorney, female, won't mention her name. That's not necessary. I was in court dealing with a matter myself, a personal matter, and a client, I would presume, of hers was trying to get her attention in the courtroom. And in a very condescending way, she gave this young man a look and a hand gesture as if to say, look, just, a real brush off. And I don't know if anybody else saw it. I saw it. I saw the young man's reaction to that. And that, as well as what I saw, got to me. So once she came from in front of the judge, she was speaking to a prosecutor. Once she came out and she went out in the hall, I immediately walked behind her and I just pulled her to the side and I said, ma'am, I don't know your name. I know you're an attorney, but I don't know your name. A young man was trying to get your attention in the courtroom. I don't know if that's your client or not, but he was trying to get your attention. I said, the way that you turned around and just hushed this young man as if he was nobody. You didn't see the look on that young man's face, but I can tell you that he had a look on his face that said, wow, am I that small? And I had a look on my face to his response to what you did to him, as if to say, really? Are you that high on the pedestal where you can't take a second out just to say to the young man, I'll be right with you? Excuse me 1 second. I said, what is that all about? I mean, is that how you get clients? And to her credit, the young lady said to me, she said, well, sir, I must say I am truly sorry. I understand. I know who you're talking about. I definitely didn't mean it that way. But I was talking to the prosecutor and I was trying to hear something, and that was just a knee-jerk reaction. I truly am sorry if I came off to you that way, or even to him. Would you show me who he is? I said, well, you said you knew who he was. You remember who I'm talking about. So I'll let you handle that part. But understand this. If I was looking at that being a possible client of yours and you treated me that way, I wouldn't want to be your client. I wouldn't feel too positive about the outcome of our case. To her credit, she apologized. I don't know if she apologized to the young man or not, because she never went back into the courtroom after that point. I went back in the courtroom. The young man was sitting on the other side of the court, and I was on this side. And I really wanted to say something to him. I wanted to let him know that, hey, I spoke with this young lady on your behalf, letting her know the way she gave you the shove, the push away, I didn't appreciate it either. And I just said it to her on your behalf. He didn't appreciate that either. So I didn't get a chance to do that, but I did get a chance to speak with her. So lawyers, some of them have airs about them, that air about themselves, where they can be a little distant. But at the end of the day, they're human. You hire them, and they work for you. That's what they say in all of their commercials. I'm not a lawyer, I'm your lawyer. I'm fighting for you. Well, you're doing all of that for me. Damn it, when I say something to you, when I talk to you, listen to what I'm saying. Listen, have something tangible to bring them. Give them an opportunity to help win your case by giving them tangible, good information, and which is your job to do. You bring them what you want them to work with, and they'll tell you about what else they need. So you have to have your ducks in a row. But understand that you are the one running the show. I don't care if you gave them $50 or you gave them 500,000. The rule is still the same. They work for you. No attorney can take his own client, just say, hey, I'm your attorney. No, it doesn't work that way. You hire them. You have to hire them. And when you hire them, that's what it is. They are working for you. Treat it that way. Think about it that way. Deal with it that way. Okay? That's very, very important. Now, when we're talking about keeping ourselves abreast with the law, there are so many laws out there. There's so you've got you've got traffic laws, you've got ordinances, you've got all of this type of stuff, and a lot of that stuff doesn't necessarily apply to your everyday life on the spot. But when it comes down to doing business and contracts and negotiation of contracts, this information is publicly available to all of us through the web. When you're doing business and you want to do business, if you want to find out what the legal, what your legal parameters are, research whatever it is you're dealing with. Take some time out to read and study. It is to your benefit to get involved in the legal aspect of whatever it is that you're doing. Whatever it is that you're doing. You've got prepaid legal companies that a part of their pitch is that they say statistically, you'll be more inclined to need a lawyer than to need a doctor. Well, I don't know how true that is. But if that is true, that's not good. Because that means that you will be involved in some legal issue that's going to require you to have to deal with an attorney or handle it yourself through small claims court. So it's to your best interest to get yourself involved in basic laws, basic things that we need to know about vehicles, about our cars, about our driver's license, about our homeowners insurance, about our property. We need to know these things because a lot of us are getting beat this way. A lot of us are getting beat by what we don't know, what we're not willing to research when it comes down to legalities of whatever it is a part of our lives we're dealing with. We don't want to take the time to read and do some research. We have got to start doing that. That helps us keep ourselves out of these legal issues that we come in contact with. We're in so many different types of little crazy situations, and they escalate and turn into big things when you go to dealing with this court system. You don't want to be a person in the court system, in and out of the court system. So you need to know what you need to know and need to apply what you know to stay out of there. You can't continuously drive around on a suspended license. Yes, I can understand it's probably expensive to get your licenses back. I can understand that. I can understand that. And we have to do what we have to do. I sit here at no point in time as if I didn't have to do these things or haven't done these things. I'm saying that at one point in time, I had to realize that, hey, I've got to get myself in legal in an area where I'm legal. Nobody can come to me about this or about that. It's hard to do to get yourself out of that court situation once you get into that web. Once you get caught up in that web, it can be very, very hard to get out of, depending on how you got in there. Something small can turn into something big if you don't nip it in the bud. Traffic tickets being one of them. When you have a traffic ticket, go to court. You go to court, you show up for court. A lot of times, the ticket is not going to even be the amount of court costs, which is the kicker. They'll usually throw it out because they want you to pay the court cost anyway, which is probably going to be double whatever the ticket was, if not 60% more than the ticket. They want you to pay the court cost because you came to court. That's why you need you to come to court. When you don't go to court, you really get off into some jazzy stuff. Now you're dealing with your driver's license, revoking your driver's license and different things for not showing up to court. Simple things like that. Letting those little things slide by, not jumping on top of those things before they turn into a mountain of problems. And before you want to go out, nobody wants to pay attorneys thousands of dollars to handle anything. Think about what you're doing and how you're doing business. If it's business and you need to know some legalities about what you're doing, research it. Look it up. Take the time out of your schedule to help you and learn something in the process. I talk to youngsters all the time about, at one particular time, I don't think that bill passed, the saggy pants bill. But when they were talking about it, whether it was just used as a ploy to scare them or whatever the case may be, I used to talk to youngsters about that, and I used to say, it's a shame that they actually have to pass a law for you all to pull your pants up. And if they pass this law, it's going to be one of the most effective tools that they can have to screw with you. Because if your pants are off your butt, that gives me the right to come to you and talk to you about anything. That's the probable cause that they need. And that's the thing that we need to stop giving them. Probable cause. Stop giving the police and all of these other agencies probable cause to deal with you. Knowing what they can and cannot do. When the police come to your house and knock on your door, you don't even have to open the door. You can talk right through the door and through your eye, especially if you didn't call them. Now they want you to think that you're supposed to open the door, and they'll say that it's the courteous thing to do, but you don't have to open your door. You're at home. And whatever they're investigating is on the outside of your door. They are wanting to involve you by asking questions that you don't have to answer. But for the most part, people have fear in telling them no, so they automatically submit, and the next thing you know, now you're at their whim of what they want to do. You don't even have to answer the door. You don't even have to acknowledge them at the door. You can peep out your peephole. And if you see them and you don't want to answer the door, you didn't call them. Eh. Now, when you see the sheriff department at your door, that's a different matter. That's a different matter. That's the sheriff. He's there for a purpose. Sheriffs don't just pop up. Sheriffs have a purpose. And when you see him at the door, go ahead and acknowledge him. Go ahead and acknowledge him. Not to say not to acknowledge the police. I'm just stating what you can and cannot do. You don't have to acknowledge them at the door, especially if you didn't call them. And in the process of communicating with them, you don't have to divulge your personal information. If no crime has been committed on your behalf, what reason do you have to give your information if you didn't call them? Now, don't be an instigator either. If they're outside and they're across the street, and you come outside and go across the street, well, of course, some questions will be asked by them, and they'll be a little pushy about you answering them. But don't be intimidated just because they're police officers that when they come to your house, you have to entertain whatever it is that they're talking about. If they don't have a warrant, they can't come search your home. That has to be under your consent. These are things that we're supposed to know. These are things that we should be able to stand on without fear. You have the right to do that. You have the right to do that. We have to exercise these rights. Take pride in them to the degree to where when they are to be used to your benefit, you use them. You stand on them. That's what it's all about. Knowing and using what you know. There's no sense of knowing something that's beneficial and you don't use it. Well, what's the purpose of knowing it? There's no sense of just knowing something. If you don't apply what you know, then knowing it is useless. Knowledge is not just power. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power when it is applied and used for a purpose or a goal. Just knowing something doesn't make you brilliant. Utilize what you know. Apply what you know. And that's when you get the desired results. And you have to do that when it comes down to dealing with the law. Okay. Our young people This generation, they want to call them millennials and all of that other stuff, whatever you want to call them. I call them young people. I think that's the most respectful thing you can call them. They have very little regard for the law. Their aggression toward the law is at an all-time high. I understand why. This generation is the most fearless generation that we've had in generations. Fearless. Fearless. Fearlessness, closely surrounded with ignorance, is a bad mix. Our young people feel that their ability to look up something, to Google something, it gives them a false sense of intelligence as if they know something just because they can Google it. Well, that's ignorant. That's ignorance. And when we don't let them understand or don't try to teach them that you have to get involved and do your research and study on things that will be beneficial to you, then we're getting ourselves in a position of doing the same, repeating the same cycle over and over again, if not worse, generation after generation. It is our responsibilities as adults to let our young people know to get involved mentally, research laws, learn the laws of the land, learn the laws of your state, or have a familiarity with them to the degree to where if your rights are challenged, you can stand your ground by what you know. You don't have to show all of that aggression, physical aggression. You can stand on an intellectual ground of knowing the law and how it helps and protects you. That's your responsibility, young man, young lady, old man, old lady, whatever you want to call it, citizens. That's our responsibility. We are to know what we can and what we cannot do, and what they can and what they cannot do. As the old saying is, what you don't know can hurt you. That's true. And it probably will hurt you. Nothing is more clear with that statement than the law and our lack of understanding of the law. I'll give a case of a situation where there was an issue where if you've got a situation where if you're standing by a gun, if a gun is to your immediate left, the left of your foot, and you're standing there by the gun, whether you knew the gun was there or not, when the police pulls up and they see that gun sitting next to where you're standing, as far as they're concerned, it's your gun. They didn't have to see you touch it. As far as they're concerned, it's within a certain feet of you. It's in your possession. There's a strong possibility that you had it. And they're going to assume that you knew it was there. It's going to be up to you to prove that you didn't have it. It's going to be up to you to prove that it's not yours. So when they pull up and they see the gun there, of course, they're going to draw down on you. Maybe, possibly, but most likely. And you're going to have to stand there as an individual, and they're going to talk to you about the gun. You got a gun. Don't touch the gun. Hold your hands up high. Hold your hands up high. After all of this has been settled and they've come to you, detain you and put you in handcuffs for your protection and theirs, as they say, you're going to have to prove to them that that gun didn't belong to you. They're going to stick you with that gun charge if it's sitting next to you. They're not going to, it's going to be hard for them to not believe that you didn't know it was there and that you didn't use it. And you have to get them to understand, hey, I had no knowledge that that gun was there. It's not mine. My fingerprints are not on it. It's not mine. I don't know anything about it. That's a hard case to fight. So in this situation, the best thing for you to do is to not have to fight that fight. Know what your surroundings are. Pay attention to your surroundings. A lot of people get in trouble about stuff that's going on around them, and they're automatically included or involved in those things. Know your surroundings. When you're riding in your car, if you've got 3 people in your car, 2 people in your car, 1 person in your car, everything that that person that's in your car or those people have on their possession, in their possession in your car, is your responsibility to know that. If your buddy's got a Glock in the back seat in his back, it's your responsibility to know that, because when the police pull you over and they get him out of the car and find that he's got a gun on him, you're not going to be able to tell them and let it fly that you didn't know, because it's not going to matter, because that's your responsibility to know. It's your vehicle. You are responsible for everything that goes on in your vehicle. You are responsible for that. You're supposed to know everything that's going on in your vehicle. If this person has 3 cracked rocks, you're supposed to know. They're riding in your car. That's the way the law works. That's the way you're going to be dealt with. You could go to jail for that. It was in your car. Damn the fact that it wasn't in your pocket. It was in your car. They'll take your car for rocks you didn't have in your pocket that you say you didn't know about. And you'll have to fight that battle. So I say to you, understand these things. When people are riding in your car, hey, there's nothing crass about saying, hey, you don't have anything on you that I need to know about, do you? You don't have anything on you that I need to be concerned about, do you? If they take offense to that, well, explain, hey, I'm responsible for what goes on in my car, or truck, or van, or bike. So I'm just wanting to know everything's cool. If you know this individual and you have trust in this individual, well, then you don't have to ask those questions. But always remember that you, in not asking those questions, you still are responsible for the contents of whatever they may have. And I'm not saying that those are bad intents of whatever they may have, but you are responsible for that. That's your responsibility to know what this individual has in their possession, in your car, in your house, the same way. The same way. I have my young son, my 18-year-old son. He has a couple of buddies that come by on they frequent. I would classify them as his friends. That's what he calls them. He doesn't call everybody his friend. These guys are his friends. And when they come to the door, I go to the door as a father and the man of the house, and I greet them. And if I've met him before, I'll just, a good handshake. But I ask the same question every time. You gentlemen don't have anything on you that I need to know about, do you? You don't have any weapons on you that I need to know about, do you? Oh, no, sir, we would never do that. Good to know. Enjoy yourself. And they don't have a problem with that. They understand that. They respect that. What does that do? Well, number one, that clears me. Because if you have a weapon in my home after I've asked you whether or not you have a weapon in my home, then anything transpires, then that's to my benefit. And more importantly, you've been given the opportunity to tell me the truth. Because if you've got weapons, then I need to know. And if you have weapons, there's only one weapon in my home, and that's the person that owns. I mean, that's me. I'm the one that has weapons in my home. Nobody else will come in my home with weapons. So if you've got weapons, then you let me know now so that I can direct you back to your car. Take your weapon back home. Then you're more than welcome to come back here. You don't need weapons here. I'm responsible for you once you get here. And to their credit, they're good young men. They don't come here with weapons. Some of you parents out there that have young boys that are growing up and they have friends that frequent your home, don't be afraid to ask them that. Don't be afraid to ask your young sons or even daughters in some cases, hey, you girls don't have anything I need to know about, do you? We don't have any weapons, do we, ladies? No, ma'am. No, sir. We're good. Carry on. Fathers, hey, ask him when he comes to your house. Hello, young man, how you doing? When I was growing up and we went to somebody's house, it wasn't that type of verbiage used, but through the eyesight, you were sized up. Hello, young man. How you doing today? Doing all right? Good. Good to see you. Go on in. Them old heads will size you up. There's nothing wrong with that. That's respectful. That's asking for respect. You shouldn't bring a weapon to a person's house, but you have those legal rights to do that. These are simple things that we can do. We can do. When you get down to it, it's all about personal responsibility and accountability. Knowing what you need to know. I talked a couple of videos ago, a couple of shows ago about dealing with bill collectors. Well, the same thing applies to them. Knowing what your legal rights are, how they can deal with you and how they can't deal with you, what your parameters are and what your strengths are in dealing with them. Legalities are going to affect every part of your life, personal and professional. It would be to your best interest as a citizen, as a business person, as a family man or woman, to know the insides and outs. There are tons of books throughout the library. You get online, um, legal about home legalities, about legalities regarding your house, the taxes on your house, basic stuff. For those of you that are in marriages that are not so they're not going so well, and it looks as though if divorce is the way for you all to go, and you've amicably come to that conclusion, you all can file a divorce on your own. You don't need an attorney. If it's just you and him and the kids, and you don't have to go through the rigmarole, you all are not having all of these drama issues. You all can do this yourselves. File divorce papers yourselves and separate from each other for good on your own. You don't need lawyers to do that. Take a little time to do some research. Get on the web. You can do it. Everything that you need to do for a simple divorce, uncontested, you can do it on your own. You can do it on your own. You don't have to have an attorney to handle that. Take the time that you need to take to do the research and do it. It'll be to your benefit. You'll save money. You'll feel better as an individual because you would have learned something and applied what you've learned to achieve the desired result. And it makes you happy when you accomplish goals. It makes us all happy when we learn something new and we can apply it to achieve a goal and benefit from it. Everybody feels good when that happens. Takes a little effort though. Takes a little pulling away of some personal time to do that. But hey, it's for you. So you can't lose. You're going to learn something. And you will be able to probably show someone else who would need to do the same or would like to do the same. That's what this M-Town movement is all about. Providing information that we as people can use together and share with each other. I don't care what hole we're in, y'all. We're not going to get out of this hole on our own. We have to work together. We have to work together. Share information. I was always taught that the purpose of knowledge is to share. Share it. Help others learn. Help others to find a way to get things done. Help others find a way to save money, to better themselves. I'm no better than anyone that's viewing me. I'm you. I'm a human being. I've just gone through some things, had some experiences, and it was fortunate enough to be around some people that let me see them go through some things and acquire wisdom from their mistakes. Watching them rebound or take care of situations that hurt them, that could have hurt me had I not seen how they handled it. I appreciate that wisdom. And I was always told that the payback for that is not monetary. It's your willingness to share right with someone else. Pull someone else's coattail and tell them, hey, it's best if you go that way. It's best if you do this. Or try this out and see if that works. That's the key to harmony in our community. That's really the key. If you go all the way back to our struggles as African Americans in particular, we didn't get anywhere without working together, helping each other. Nobody gets anywhere without working together or helping each other. So that's what we have to do. Oh, I tell you, um, as I said, Brother Brown today um, was a great interview. We talked about a lot of things, as I said earlier in the broadcast, and I am going to have a hard time trying to figure out what's best served with the information that was given to me that we discussed today. But I'm going to do everything I can to make sure, like I said, if you know, it's hard to judge um, the information when you're in the process of doing the interview. You have to sit back and look at it, listen to it, and I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet. But when we get an opportunity, when our staff gets the opportunity to go back through, we're going to look at it. I didn't ask any personal questions. I quite frankly have no interest in talking about his personal business. We talked about nothing personal. Everything that we talked about was things that people are concerned about, or things that people would like to know, and held and some helpful information legally, some helpful legalese that we can use to keep ourselves in a good light. Those were the topics of discussions. We dealt with nothing personal. I'm not the guy to ask people about their personal business. So let me be the first one to tell anybody that's viewing my show, excuse me, if you're looking for me to be the shock jock guy, if you pardon me again, if you're looking for me to be the shock jock guy, the guy that asks those questions that certain people want to know with regards to, you know, their personal life and background, I'm not interested in any of that to bring to the people. That's not why I'm here. Anybody that I interview, it's all about skill sets, opinions on how things are based on their experience and who they are, and what based on from what they feel, what can we do to make things better. I'm not here to judge anybody's personality or character. And if I bring somebody to you, you can best believe that I feel and I've judged to see that this person is of good quality and character. Those are the only people I'm trying to bring to the table here. Those are the only ones that are really of concern to me. I'm of no concern about anybody's personal life whatsoever. We've got plenty of shows and blogs and everything out there keeping up with how people are doing personally, their personal lives. I care less. I'm all about trying to get information that I can spew out there that can spark an individual to say, hey, I'm glad he said that. Now I know how to handle that. I'm glad he shared that with us so that I'll know. Now I know what to do. That's why I'm here. That's why we work hard. And we will continue to work hard to try to find the best and most important information that we can to bring to the table to uplift people and empower people. This is the only way out. This is the only way that we're going to make it and survive and live, not just as African Americans, but as people. I speak to African Americans because I'm an African American for certain. But at the same time, I am a human being also. So my concern is for human beings as well, all. Let's do more research. Let's learn the laws that govern the society that we live in. It all can't be put in an hour-long video. There's plenty of things that I can go over and I will go over because I've realized that there will have to be a possible video number 2 on legalities and number 3 because there are some things that I need to get into that's going to really have to have you having an in-depth ear. Things that really can change some things, change your perception on things. And that's what we want to do here in town tonight is change your perception on things by looking at them differently, being more objective about how you look at things. Sometimes, as the analogy is, thinking outside the box. Sometimes you got to get out the box and kick the box down the street. Meaning, be open-minded to everything, to investigation. Everything is open to investigation. Everything is open to research. Finding the way to get it done. Finding a way to make it happen. Get outside the box. Step outside the box. Not just think. Get outside of the box and kick the box down the street. And accept the freedom of having the world at the push of a button. And do your research. Make yourself stronger. It is your responsibility as the head of household to know household legalities when it comes down to people coming to your door, people getting hurt on your property. We have dog bites and stuff that happen. People need to find out who's responsible there. These are things that simple things, believe it or not, that people overlook every day, but they happen. People slip and fall on your property. The first thing they're thinking about is suing you. That's the first thing they're thinking about. So you need to have yourself in the mindset to be prepared for that. If it never happens, hey, good for you. But we want to be prepared as best we can for anything. We want to be able to have a mind, a set that we can go and say, hey, what's the legal side of this? How can I protect myself legally here? What do I need to know to make things just that much easier for me? What do I need to do? That's the mindset that you should be in. Remember, what you don't know can hurt you. And in most cases, legally, it will. If you are not abreast upon what you need to know. Learn about lawsuits and how you can file a lawsuit. Learn about affidavits, and that's something we'll get on to later in other videos, and probably video too. How to actually file an affidavit. What does an affidavit consist of? What's the purpose of an affidavit? A lot of different things we can get into. Okay, but remember this final thing. When it comes down to knowing something that can be beneficial to you and just having an idea of what's going to happen, most of the time when you just have that idea, you pay the price for that. You pay the price for just scatterbrain type of behavior. You have to be organized, and knowing the law and knowing or having a good idea of how the law works, not just having an idea of what's going to happen, having an idea of how the law works through study, it will help you. Insurance. How far can your insurance company go before they don't pay a claim on your car? Or what are the legalities of your insurance company paying on a claim? Do you need to pay a claim? Are you obligated to pay one? These are things that we need to know. Legalities with your insurance in your car. These are things that we need to know, because when we least expect it, sometimes these things pop up in our lives every day, and they catch us off guard. And when they catch you off guard, most of us, when we get caught off guard, puts us in a little stint, probably a little longer than it would take normally to get out of it had we'd have been prepared just 50% better than before the incident took place. So we owe it to ourselves to do our research and investigation into knowing what we need to know to protect ourselves legally across the board. Personal life, professional life, as well as laws regarding employment. What can our employer do to us? What can he not do to us? He has it on the wall in most um, places of business that you go. Employers will have on the wall what legalities are, the minimum wage requirements, Family Medical Leave Act, and all of these other things. Take time to read these things. Don't just read them when something happens. Take time to read them, know them, go online, get a copy of them, create your own file of these documents. If you're a tipped employee, you should know what the laws are in your state with regards to tipped employees. What employers can do to you, what they cannot do to you, what's classified as working off the clock. These things, however small they may seem on the outset, right on the front end, they are important and they come into play in a lot of cases. So we need to think about that. Take that to heart. Okay? You take that to heart. I've been looking forward to this all day. I love talking to our people, Memphians. I love you. I've been getting a ton of support by Facebook, email, and that is mtowntonight@gmail.com. Feel free to send us a line. Go to the website, drop us a line. We're actually having a sponsored a sponsor gathering probably within the next month or so, in which the sponsors of www.mtowntonight.com will come together. We'll get a chance to talk, and hopefully we can have other businesses involved to do all types of networking. It's all about, once again, working together. So we're going to have a lot of stuff up and coming this summer. We're working hard to try to keep things coming to you. We just want you to stay with us. We want you to stay tuned, stay informed. And if there's a topic of any discussion that you feel that we should discuss on this show, feel free to send me an email. Once again, www.mtowntonight@gmail.com. Send me an email. I love to hear what you want to talk about. All emails, I can't respond to all. I'll respond to most. Negative emails, depending on your content, will determine whether or not I respond to you, because I know some of the negative emails are really just to get a rise out of me. Doesn't work. Just doesn't work. No amount of F words or 4-letter words you can use in an email is going to provoke me to sending you back tons of emails, or even more importantly for you, coming on my show live, even commenting on what you said. So I'm telling you now, as I've always said, negative emails, hey, I'll read them. They're words. I'll read them. But you get no more attention than that. Trust me. You get no more attention than that. So it is always a pleasure to come to you. And it's officially Friday, June the 30th, the last day of June. Let's end this month with a bang. And always remember that to do better, we have to be better. And in order to be better, we have to want to do better. I am your host, Mr. Darnay, saying to you, much love to the Memphians that live around this city. We will and we can do better, and we will work together to try to accomplish the goal of making Memphis that city that it once used to be. And that's down home South love, man. We're one big family in this town, and we got to get back to acting like it. Mr. Darnay, your host, saying good night to you, and we'll see you next time.